Hi everyone, this is Kalyan Kumar this side and welcome to Chemistry Universe. This is part 14 of the aldehyde and ketone series. We're doing chemical properties of aldehydes and ketones. And this one is part 14 and this is titled Beckmann rearrangement. Now, what happens in this particular reaction is that you take an aldoxyme or a ketoxyme, that is an oxime made from aldehyde and ketone, and you subject it to treatment with an acid, and it rearranges to form an N-substituted amide. Now, if you want to know what an oxime is, I think you should go back to the video of aldehyde and ketone where we discussed the derivatives of ammonia and ammonia derivatives. That was a part of nucleophilic addition. Right after that, we did the derivatives of ammonia. In that, we talked about oximes, but I'll give you a brief hint about what an oxime is. So you treat an aldoxime, that is an aldehyde forming an oxime, a ketoxime, a ketone forming an oxime, and these two together, or rather these two, so when subjected to an acid, would rearrange into an N-substituted amide. So let's get on with the video to learn more. All right, so here we go. Aldoxime and ketoxime. So this is an acid catalyzed transformation of a ketoxime or an aldoxime to an N-substituted amide, and this is known as the Beckmann rearrangement. So what you need to understand is, if I take an aldehyde or I take a ketone, okay, and I subject this to what we call as the hydroxylamine. Let me redraw this. So I have NH2OH. This is hydroxylamine. Hydroxylamine. And treat them separately. So what will happen is this H2O will go away and you will get RCH double bond NOH. This is an aldoxime. Okay. So this gives you an aldoxime. Now, if it is formed from ketone, it would look like this, a ketoxime. So what does this do? This converts into RC double bond O NH R prime if it is a ketone, or you could have R here and R prime here, and while doing the mechanism we'll learn which one goes here. Whereas a ketoxime, an aldoxime could give you an N-substituted amine this way, and if R and H were to be swapped, you should get an amide, but you don't get an amide here. Instead, this one, instead of being an amide, becomes a cyanide. So we will talk about this in detail now. So just hang on to it, and we're doing it just now. Now the rearrangement is catalyzed by a variety of reagents such as H3PO2, H2SO4, SOCl2, PCl5, PCl3, SOCl2, or even H plus heat. Basically, it needs a dehydrating agent, and they're all good dehydrating agents. You can even use P2O5 for that matter. So anyway, let's take an oxime, and this is made up of, let's say, a ketone. You add H plus and heat, and this is what you get. All right. So there's R prime left on the carbon, and the R moves to N, and you have an N-substituted amide. Let's check the mechanism. Well, first, there is a reaction with H plus. Now remember, this H plus can go to this lone pair and can go to this lone pair. Obviously, the lone pair on N is actually more basic, despite the fact that it is sp2 hybridized. O will be more electronegative anyway. So the lone pair on N is more tuned towards getting the H plus. But the fact of the matter is, this will take the H plus and this will give the H plus back. So there is not going to be any reaction after taking H plus by the lone pair of N. But since O can also take the H plus, so whenever the H plus comes to O, that's where this reaction occurs. Okay. So remember, by putting the H plus on O, I am not suggesting that it is the most likeliest place for H plus to go. What I'm basically saying is the most likeliest place in fact would be the N, but the O can also get the H, and when the O gets the H, then you have this reaction happening. So now what happens is water leaves, but as water leaves, N would tend to become plus, but before it becomes plus, the R that is opposite to the OH migrates to N, so that the plus comes on the carbon rather than on the nitrogen. You end up getting this. So this itself should tell you that the group that is opposite to the OH is migrating. See, if this were to go first, you got an N plus, then either of these two could move based on their migrating aptitude. But since it is a one-step process, it is like intramolecular SN2. So something like an SNGP. So this goes, and at the same time, this moves and this attacks here. So it means it's a one-step process, and only that R can go that is opposite to the OH, irrespective of its power to migrate. Now, the solution has water, solvent, O attacks the carbon. You'll get this. Then it will lose the H plus to the solvent. Remember, H plus it took in the beginning, and H plus will be given back because it's acid catalyzed. You'll get this. Now you have intramolecular proton transfer, or you can say tautomerism. The H comes to N and you will get this. And this is tautomerism giving you N substituted amide. Okay. Now in this reaction, the group that is anti to OH group migrates irrespective of whether it has a higher or lower migrating aptitude. But remember, as I said in the case of aldehyde, if the H were opposite to the OH, so if here the H were opposite to the OH, then remember the H would migrate. Now ideally one should get an amide, but no. If H is anti to OH, then instead of amide, cyanide is the product. The reason is that, remember, first this will form, okay? But instead of the R, you would have the H because the H has migrated, right? And you expect the water to attack now and all of that thing to happen. But even before this happens, remember, this lone pair would stabilize this, right? And you will get a resonating structure like this. But this has a very easy tendency to lose the H plus, and then you'll immediately get cyanide. So instead of proceeding further with the attack of water, you would just get the cyanide forming here. So let's do a couple of questions on this, rather one question which has several parts to it. Do you have this? You've seen this reaction before. I use ethoxide and then H3O plus to give you B and heat to give you C. Then I do NH2OH and H plus to give you D, and then I put H plus and heat to give you E. So I want you to pause the video now, make each of the products. The first part we've already done in the previous sections, in the previous videos. We did intramolecular Claisen ester condensation. Just have a look at that, Beekman condensation. So have a look at that and then proceed to form all the products on your own. And only when you've done all of them should you watch the video back. So here is the answer. A obviously would be, let's say for example, you have a minus forming here. This will attack this. This is intramolecular Claisen ester condensation. And this goes here, it comes back and OET leaves. So you will get a 6-membered ring with a ketone. This would be the ketone part. And then there is an ester part. So if you just carefully make the product, you'll get this. And we've already seen the hydrolysis of an ester in acidic medium will give you acid, carboxylic acid. And this is a beta keto acid. So on heating, it will give you ketone. But now that I've added hydroxylamine, it will give me oxime. And then this is just the ketoxime. And both R's are same, so whichever one would migrate. Eventually one bond would break. This will attach to N and you will get a double bond O here. And you should get an N substituted amide. It will be 7-membered. So again, one might wonder why a 7-membered, because 7-membered is not stable enough. Well, it doesn't really matter, because the fact of the matter is it has to shift. And 7-membered ring is as stable as a 5-membered ring, though not easily formed, but it is stable enough. So here we get the Beckmann rearrangement. And with that, we come to the end of this video, part 14, Beckmann rearrangement. So that's it, folks. So this is the Beckmann rearrangement. I hope you're able to learn whatever you could in this video. Watch it as many times as you want. Make notes as you do so. And with that, this is Kalyan Kumar signing off. Have a great and wonderful, productive day. And thank you for watching this.